So please be advised that we will be recording this Zoom session. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Val. Good
Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Lisa.
First, I would like to thank everyone for making the time this afternoon in this first installment of the Brown Bug discussion series on planning for circular cities and economies, hosted by the Climate Action Lab Circular Cities Fellowship Program and CIRC Club 22 from the Asian Institute of Management. Now, without further ado, I'd like to turn over the virtual stage to Dr. Elmer Soriano, the co-convener of the Climate Action Lab, for our opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here with all of you today at this brown bag discussion on circular cities, organized by our three partners, AIM and the Circular Cities and the team. This activity was organized by our Circular Cities Fellowship Program led by Lisa Evangelista and fellows Val Dumantay and Alexa Blas. And I want to thank each of you for taking the time to engage in this crucial conversation about our future. A future that should not only be sustainable, but also truly regenerative. Now, just a few weeks ago here in Manila, we had major floods, and it's just a reminder of how global warming is changing, is affecting our lives in serious and large-scale ways. And a lot of the challenges are faced in the cities. Cities are where people come to chase our dreams, build our lives, connect with others. But cities are also at the heart of some of our most pressing challenges: environmental degradation, resource depletion, social inequality, to name a few. We know that cities account for more than 70% of global carbon emissions. We consume vast amounts of natural resources and generate enormous quantities of waste. And with urban populations projected to grow even more, these challenges will become only even more urgent. But cities are also where solutions can be forged. Cities are where universities, and schools, just like the Asian Institute of Management, are located. Cities are places of innovation, creativity, and resilience. And that's what brings us together today. The belief that our cities and our schools can lead the way in building a more sustainable, equitable, and circular future. Globally, there are over 10,000 cities and 20,000 universities. And as we will be observing this afternoon, student-driven and school-based initiatives can seriously accelerate work at the city level if we decide to talk about issues like circular cities at our universities. Circular cities are not just a lofty ideal. It's a practical, actionable framework for transforming the way we live, work, and interact with our environment. It's about closing the loop on the resource use, designing our waste out of our systems, and creating urban spaces that not only sustain us, but also restore the natural world. This is not just a conversation for policymakers or city planners. As we will see this afternoon, students and faculty members in the schools can get deeply engaged in this work of making our cities more circular. From businesses rethinking their supply chains, to educators preparing the next generation of leaders, to community organizers ensuring that no one is left behind, everyone has a role to play. We are, with this activity this afternoon, we are launching the Circular Cities Fellowship Program. So this is the inaugural cohort that you will be seeing in action this afternoon. And we're looking forward to taking this program to thousands of universities and cities all over the world. The team has been exploring concepts on addressing some challenges on the intersection of urban planning, environmental stewardship, and social equity, and we'll be talking about that this afternoon. Today's discussion is an opportunity to dive deeper into these ideas, to learn from each other, and to inspire other student teams. The semester just started, and I imagine thousands of students will be thinking of capstone projects, thesis projects to work on the coming year, the coming semesters. And this could be one really useful endeavor if you're going to spend student project time, academic time, working on a project. You might as well work on a project as relevant as circular cities. So as we kick off this conversation, I want to encourage you to lean in, listen actively, and share your perspectives. The road to circular cities won't be easy. It will require hard work, and it can start in activities just like this afternoon's. Looking forward to an insightful conversation with all of you. Thank you. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Doc Elmer, for your warm welcome and for your message. Guys, let's all listen actively and share our perspective. This is the message of Sir Elmer. Okay. Today's discussion, please be reminded, will be less of a lecture and more of a conversation. Lisa, are you now ready to introduce our guest panelists?
Yes, today's
Okay.
panel members are practitioners. Now, as what Val said, they are practitioners who will have a conversation. They are practitioners in the space of planning, circular cities, and economies. Allow me to introduce our first panel speaker. Our first panel speaker is the Assistant Department Head of the Quezon City Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Department. He has a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in environmental management. The mandate of the Quezon City Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Department is to implement transformative climate actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase climate resilience, and create a well-informed citizenry. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Vincent Vinarao. Our second speaker is a seasoned environmental consultant with a decade of experience managing environmental projects, conducting research, and contributing to the development of progressive environmental policies. Through his work with the Asian Research Institute of Environmental Law, he collaborated with various organizations such as the ADB, USAID, UNEP, and other INGOs, and tackled issues on environmental law in the context of climate change, air pollution, renewable energy, and more. He is also a graduate student in the Master in Innovation and Business program of the Asian Institute of Management. Let's welcome Mr. Paulo Burro. Our third panel speaker is a woman advocating for decent work and sustainable manufacturing in the sewing production floor through her work as an operations manager in Twin Star Tailoring Shop. She recently joined Barrio Studios in an innovative fashion social enterprise that repurposes reclaimed fabrics by upcycling them into wearable products. She is also a fellow in the Circular Cities Fellowship Program under the Climate Action Lab. Ladies and gentlemen, my cohort mate, Ms. Alexa Blas.
Okay. Welcome to our panel speakers. Before we start, again, on behalf of my group mate, we would like to thank all the panel speakers for agreeing to join this brown bag discussion this afternoon. Again, today's discussion will be more of a conversation. It's not a lecture type. We'll have questions, and each panel member will have the opportunity to share his or her thoughts, respond to the speakers, and even ask questions. It can be more informal. The audience is also welcome to share their questions through the Zoom chat or through Facebook Live. We have a dedicated question and answer period in the last 15 minutes of this session. So Lisa, let's begin. First and foremost, let's get to know our speakers. Let's get to know their story. So can we ask the panel speakers to share their story? Specifically, what is your role and work on planning circular cities and economies and its relevance in SDG 11. So can we start with Mr. Binarao?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Just checking if my
afternoon.
audio is clear.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Well, instead of talking about myself, I would like to introduce our department and our city, the initiatives of the city government. And before that, we would like to thank the organizers for inviting us. So this is another opportunity for us to share our initiatives on climate action and environmental sustainability. Um, Mentioned a while ago, I'm the Assistant Department Head of the Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Department. We are a new department. We were created just 2020 in 2020 through City Ordinance Number SB 3009 because our Honorable Mayor, Mayor Joy Belmonte, recognizes the importance and urgency of advancing climate action here in the city. As mentioned a while ago, our mandate is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase climate resiliency, and of course, increase awareness and collaboration with different various stakeholders. The city government, we have an enhanced local climate change action plan, which basically is the guiding framework or document for all our climate actions, including circular economy. So we've undergone a process to develop the said plan. First, we have to establish our baseline data because we want to be data-driven, a science-based approach, so that we can identify responsive actions. We've identified that the city is emitting greenhouse gas emissions, and majority of it is coming from stationary energy or the buildings. The 60%, then 20%, 21% coming from the transport sector, and 19% comes from waste. We want focus not only on the other sectors but also on waste. That's 19%. That's why we have various priority actions geared towards transitioning to circular economy.
Thank you, Sir Vincent. Can we now have Sir Paulo?
Hmm?
Can you guys hear me?
Dali.
Yes, we can hear
Awan
you,
na
Sir
invite tala
Paulo.
sa Pwede ta nga iko ay
We
nakakon
would
na lang.
like to remind all participants to mute yourself if you're not about to speak. Yeah. Thank you, Sir Paulo. The stage is now yours.
So actually, my first salvo when it comes to like circular sustainable cities, it's actually SDG 11 is my first project was actually in sustainable transportation, um, which we actively lobbied and pushed for since 2014. If you guys would remember, there were instances that there were road sharing exercises. So those were my projects. 2016, 2020, I worked with Move as One Coalition as well for the establishment of the bike lanes and continuously push for sustainable transportation as a town. But when it comes also to waste management or circular economy, in the waste setting, I've been actively working with the Department of Environment and the Department of Interior Local Government to push for the circular adoption of circular economy in the barangay as well, and the full implementation of the EPR. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Paulo. Can we now have our group mate, Miss Alexa?
Okay, so
Thank you.
unlike our esteemed panelists, so I'm coming from the private sector. So most of the efforts that we've been doing for the circular economy is really something that's more granular to some extent. And in fact, I did not even know that it's part of the circular economy to begin with because you were just practicing waste management in our production line and making sure that when we have fabrics, we make use of every single bit of it. And now I think over the last 3 years, especially or 3 to 4 years in when we had the pandemic, it was even more the issue of waste management, textile pollution, and the like became even a bigger problem. That's why it's something that got me into this space and met wonderful people. In fact, I just wanted to recognize here in this room, Jamie Naval is here from Barrio Studios. So one of the people that I've been working with recently and who's really actively in the textile space also for circular economy. Yeah. So that's how I got into the space.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexa, Sir Vincent, and Sir Paolo for sharing your roles and work in this important field. Okay. It's inspiring to hear how about the diverse ways each of you is contributing to planning circular cities and economies. So let's move on now. So can we have the second question? And the second question is, what are the good practices and challenges that you encountered planning for circular cities and economies in your line of work? So, who wants to answer? Maybe we can start with Sir Paulo this time.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I think the best practice is that when we were working on what do you call this, improving accountability and measurement of compliance when it comes to waste management. I was fortunate enough due to the capacity of my environmental law professor at that time. I was able to be part of the crafting of the environment of the Manila Bay Mandamus audit, which measured compliance of 182 cities and municipalities from Region 2 to Region 4A when it comes to their solid waste management compliance into, to mitigate plastic waste going to, not just plastic waste, but solid waste going to the Manila Bay to aid in its rehabilitation. And I think that auditing system and monitoring system was a good tool of measure. Of course, it was also, when we crafted it, we also set in place mechanisms to ensure compliance, such as um, a carrot and stick approach. More on, if you fail the audit, we sue you. If you pass the audit, we reward you. Yeah, I think that's.
Can I ask something related to that? In fact, when you talked about the monitoring and the evaluation, I got curious about it because I'd like to understand a bit more, like how is it different from the other kinds of monitoring that we do, or is it just the same? Yeah, with projects in
I
general.
think when it comes to this, the monitoring parameters we use for actual existing laws already, such as Water Code, RA 9003, and other environmental law related regulations. But when it comes to this, the reason that actually it became effective as well, as it was actually an offshoot of the Supreme Court case, which pushes the government to clean Manila Bay. And in our understanding, actually after a few years of failed implementation of the Supreme Court mandamus, we came upon this discussion with the DILG that they said, you know what, we can't successfully implement the law because although you bounded all the agencies to, implement the Supreme Court decision, we have something called the local government code, who practically says we don't care. And everything the Supreme Court says about this is just an opinion to us because we have complete local autonomy
Mm.
within our particular area. So the development of that was actually precisely to address that sort of gap made by the local government. So we had to be a little bit creative. So we had to sort of implead the ALG with the Ombudsman's office and request them to strengthen their monitoring compliance, which inevitably ended up developing the monitoring system. So the monitoring system is beefed up by a Supreme Court decision and an Ombudsman order.
Mm.
That's why it's a bit more powerful than normal.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you, Paolo. I personally have also a personal experience with regard to the implementation of that mandamus. Please know that DENR is very strict now. Okay, so I think your moves, your actions were effective, Sir Paolo. Okay,
Yeah.
and then can we also hear from Sir Vincent?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of good practices, well, as mentioned a while ago, we have the enhanced local climate change action plan. And then for the process of planning and developing that plan, we definitely recognize that effective planning process and implementation requires the technical expertise and guidance, and of course, the recommendations and cooperation of internal and external stakeholders. We value the role of the various stakeholders because we know that the city government can't do this alone. If we really want to achieve our climate goals and objectives, we need all the help that we can get from everyone. So what we did was we created a technical working group composed of various city departments, so that the roles and responsibilities are clear, because we know that when we talk about climate and sustainability, it's cross-cutting, so it cuts across all other sectors of our society. So we value the importance of and contribution of each department in government. And of course, the stakeholders work to make sure their valuable inputs are integrated into plan. Since as I mentioned a while ago, their role is very important. And community engagement also. We make sure that we provide the necessary information to the public, including the current situation and what we want to achieve, what is the vision, objectives, and overall plan of the city. So that we can also share, if we do this, if we aim for a better future, this will be the benefits for the people. So that is our approach. What will be the benefit for the people, which is to, of course, enhance their quality of life here in Quezon City. We also want to take into account the local context, because when we talk about climate and sustainability actions, we normally benchmark with other cities, with other countries who are doing well already. But we want to put that into perspective. We want to localize everything. That's why what we're doing here is really suited to the context of what the city needs. Else. That's it. Because we value inclusivity in what we do here. So this is one of the drivers that we really want for the city to take inclusive climate action.
Okay. You know how actually when I heard that, I'm just so happy to be here because I'm also a QC citizen, and hearing this coming from our QC government unit, coming from the climate action, we really feel it. We really feel how because the top line has a very strong political will to push for this agenda. We're seeing how efforts are organized. And in fact, I think we're one of the stakeholders coming from the fashion industry also that benefited from this kind of action because we're given attention on the kinds of wastes that we need to manage in our city and also how we can actually collaborate more together. And maybe I'll use this as a jump off point also to share on the good practices that we've had. And in fact, I would say that I'm really a proud QC citizen because of this one, because of all the efforts that the government has been doing to foster the circular economy in our city so that the industries would flourish, and fashion is one of them. So just to give a background also, again, in our side, much of if Paolo a while ago and Sir Vincent a while ago was sharing more about how it started from the top, like you have the leaders really instituting and setting the direction. But this time, coming from the fashion industry, we do have leaders also, but most of the time it came from individuals who have that passion um, for making sure that nothing is wasted. And at the same time that when they started to see how much samples were left in their rooms, you know how when you are a fashion student, you have lots of samples, you create a lot of muslin garments to test out your piece before you even produce it on the actual fabric. And over time, that can accumulate. And when you see it accumulating in your room, the biggest question would be, anong gagawin ko dito? Or what will I do with this? There's so much waste. And that's where a lot of the movements were coming out from us. And many fashion designers have been developing their brand around the idea of reusing, reducing the waste, and also even upcycling some of the things that have already been made in the past. So I think those are really good practices. But to be honest, one of the challenges that we're seeing right now would be that scale is really difficult because it's hard to one thing, fashion is not really an easy craft. It's something that's not for the faint of heart also. You really have to have that eye for it, the technical skill also for it. But equally, when you start thinking about the idea of design, yes, you can think about what to do with it at scale, at a single piece. Like for example, I'd like to make a patchwork clothing, or I'd like to reuse a small piece of fabric to create my own blouse. But for example, if you would tell me to make it for 100 persons and then use different fabrics and not use the standard mass production method of doing it, it's very, very hard because it would take some kind of skill and at the same time patience also to sort through all of those fabric weights before we can even make something that's more standardized. Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, that's an issue for us. And I think I do appreciate hearing from Paolo also a while ago about the monitoring, because even the impact and the scale that actually, I'll go back to the impact first. Even the impact that with what we are doing, sometimes we're not sure, are we really helping? Or maybe are these small efforts just like a speck in the sea, or like just a drop in the bucket? Will it really will it really create that change? Sometimes there's that question. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Sir Vincent, for your insightful answers. Okay. Rest assured, these best practices will be applied, and then your experiences will provide valuable lessons for all the attendees here. Now, let's have the third question. Question number 3, beauty contest. What are the examples of outcome measures and indicators that you found helpful in tracking improvements and impact? Again, what are examples of outcome measures and indicators that you found helpful in tracking improvements and impact?
Mm-mm.
So, Alexa, do you want to start? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Sige, I think I'll start because I wanted to listen more to Sir Paul and Sir Vincent in a bit, and maybe to draw out from your experiences on what's available in the city. And also, since it was mentioned that being part of the development management cohort also, it's part of our challenge to identify and start to understand how we can scale our impact. But before you can even scale your impact, you need to first understand like what do you really need to measure and what impact are you making. So at a small scale, part of the things that we're looking at would be attached to our operations and processes. So a lot of it would be how much fabric are we able to reclaim. So similar with what we're doing in Barrier right now with Jamie, we measure it in kilos. So for example, if you have an off cut or if you have a dead stock fabric, somehow the easiest way to do it is not to measure it with a tape measure, but to put it in in a weighing scale and just know that it's 5 kilos of fabric, and that's good enough. So that's one. The other also would be to see how many pieces of garment we are able to upcycle, and how many of these garments that instead of going to the landfill, was the life cycle of it was extended. But to be honest with you, part of the challenge would be, again, going back to the idea of scale. Like, how do we know if we're really creating that impact? And right now, even with the language of ESG, and also even with all of those, all the idea about impact first investing as well, it's a question for us to know if to know to understand a bit more on how we can connect more to to say that we're making that environmental impact, especially when we started to hear about plastic credits, EPR law. Saan kami papasok? Or parang the biggest question would be, where do we start thinking about this as fashion designers, as creatives, and as individuals starting a social enterprise? Maybe my co-panelists here would be more knowledgeable than me to share about that. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Can we now have Sir Vincent?
On a local government perspective, we know that monitoring and evaluation is critical for the plans that we have, because a city government has various plans, development plans. So monitoring and evaluation is a critical component. For us, in our enhanced local action plan, we have identified key performance indicators and milestones for monitoring and evaluation. That makes our enhanced LCCAP dynamic and responsive to the changing landscape. In the plan, we have identified 5 priority actions on circular economy. So this include resource circulation of organic waste, green public procurement,
Mm.
strengthened recycling, targeting paper and plastic waste. We also have circular business models through the development of innovative programs and marketplace for social enterprises, such as upcycling of textile waste, which was shared a while ago, and pre-loved clothing and wastewater treatment facilities. Our overall target in terms of circular economy is to reduce waste impact or pressure on the environment and ecosystems. And we were targeting at least 50% waste diversion by 2030. And each action has milestones set for example, every 2 years. So we can monitor the progress of our programs and projects. And then I just want to share that Quezon City is fortunate also to be part of the United Nations Development Program, UNDPA's project. So the project aims to accelerate the circular economy in cities. I think there are 5 cities here in the Philippines that were included in the project. One of the outputs there is the identification of circular economy indicators. Because when we talk about circular economy, you can list down hundreds of indicators that are linked to circular economy. So the objective of the program, the project, is really to what are the indicators that cities really need to monitor and track their progress. For Quezon City, I think we have identified 15 indicators so that we can track our progress. And these indicators and the corresponding data, so the team reviewed this recommendation, and they also provided how we can enhance the monitoring of the indicators, the gathering of the data. So they provided 3. So number 1 is they said here institutionalization of the indicators at the local level. So meaning the city must consolidate the metrics into a unified framework to strengthen accountability and transparency. Number 2, they said here that reinforcing support mechanisms through capacity enhancement, financial banking and knowledge dissemination, as well as partnering with development agencies and NGOs. So they can provide the necessary technical assistance and support on how we can monitor and develop mechanisms for the monitoring and evaluation. And third, they suggested to integrate initiatives into the national circular economy framework to eliminate redundancies and streamline efforts to ensure that various ordinances, programs, and initiatives are aligned towards a common goal. So that really that project really provided a direction for cities on how we can track and monitor our initiatives on circular economy.
Thank you, Sir Vincent. A while ago, you said that there are many indicators, and it's important to really choose the indicators that would be applied in your area. Sir Vincent, can you just give us some of these indicators that Quezon City intentionally selected for this circularity principle? Thank you.
You're on mute, sir.
Sir Vincent?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There. For example, the waste diversion rate. And of course, we want circular economy initiatives to reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So we want to also to include that as one of our indicators. Percentage of waste that are upcycled, recycled. So usually the amount or percentage of waste that we are diverting from the waste stream that we can recover and then can be used for example, resources for other industries. That we have 15. I'm checking the list. If I can find it, I can share it to you later.
Thank you. We would appreciate it, Sir Vincent.
Amazing that our city has that. Go QC. But that aside, perhaps I'd like to clarify a bit more. Like, were there specific principles that led us in QC to choose these indicators? Yeah.
They provided the framework So the framework they provided actually has three major components. So that is governance and infrastructure, environment and the last one is business and technology. So the indicators, so you can use the indicators accordingly for that framework. I got the list here. Well, we included the number of awareness raising activities for waste prevention, citizen participation, recycling program, um, community-driven associations, because in city there are many junk shops which are considered an informal economy. So we want to integrate them also to become to be part of the formal economy because they also have a huge contribution in terms of circular economy initiatives, um, water consumption, and then of course we want to include the use of fuel and energy. So we included there the electricity consumption, the car sharing, the transport sector. Um, those are just the examples of the. This is 21. I'm sorry, one, not 15.
Thank you, Sir Vincent. This is a question coming from one of my group mates. Okay. Sir Vincent, how can social enterprises take part in this initiative in Quezon City? Do you compel them? Is it voluntary?
Our approach is more of a collaborative approach. We want to encourage enterprises to be part of what Quezon City is doing. For example, Ms. Alexa mentioned earlier about textile waste. I think this year we conducted an event, the Reta Show. So this gave opportunity for designers to create their clothes so that they can showcase their talents by using, for example, textile waste. And we have the Green Awards also. So this is conducted last year. The inaugural Green Awards is conducted last year. So this will be implemented every year, um, just to recognize and also give importance to what the private sector, the youth sector, the barangays, the communities, what they're doing in terms of sustainability. So we want to recognize them.
Thank you, Sir Vincent.
Yeah. Amazing actually that there are various efforts, and sometimes the only thing that I have in mind, especially when we have all of these indicators and also the plans and the practices, aren't we also spreading ourselves too thin to some extent? Like what's the good balance, or how do we know that? Yeah. Mm-mm.
That's a common problem when we try to monitor a number of indicators.
Mm-mm.
As I've mentioned a while ago, we also get the collaboration and cooperation of the other departments and stakeholders. Um, a- a- and data gathering and collection is one of the really one of the challenges of local government units.
Mm-mm.
It's just looking for the right and proper data. I think because if you know what is the appropriate data, you will not waste your energy or resources looking for other data that are not needed anyway. So that for us it's really the collaboration and cooperation. If we need help from other stakeholders, from other departments and offices, they can help provide the needed information or data for us.
Mm. I see, I see. I recall, Valerie, I think Paolo has a lot to share also on this because,
Yeah.
when we were inviting or looking for our speakers, Paolo was talking a lot about data also. Mm-mm.
Sir Pao,
Hello.
you.
Hello. Hi. Yeah. So I think data plays a huge role, especially in terms of understanding the different metrics when it comes to, if we're talking about waste, like the consumer patterns of different cities or different industries, as also pertaining to the different emissions that's being produced by cars or by coal plants. But I think with that, I think data is even more important in a way in terms of climate finance, especially when it comes to carbon offsets or carbon trading, which data is needed to measure the amount of carbon offsets available, which can be then leveraged to any green loans or tools, for further investment in early to the measurement of carbon emissions. I think data is also uh, applicable when it comes to measuring EPR compliance as well as in terms of measuring plastic credits. I think we're going to that stage that data would dictate how things would be decided as well, and how things could be evaluated in terms of setting in place different monitoring parameters to ensure, focused and continued progress towards developmental change.
I see, I see. Okay. To be honest with you, because unlike the two of you, I'm coming from the space of a micro entrepreneur's lens. And to us, our idea of, well, running the business would be financial sustainability and making sure we deliver our craft, we deliver value to our clients. How do you think can we funny, I'm a panelist, but I have more questions than answers, to be honest. That I'd like to know, coming from your perspective, like how can micro entrepreneurs like us start to take part in the actions that the city is doing, the EPR law, the legislations, and I think from what I'm hearing a while ago, even the indicators are coming from that lens, coming from that position where there's a top line rule that this is what you need to do. These are the accounting metrics that you need to have. How can we take part in it? Yeah. What do you think? First, both perhaps for Sir Vincent
Yeah.
and
Well,
Paolo
well,
also.
the basic principle of circular economy is resource efficiency
Mm,
and reduce wastage. Well, the same principle applies in enterprises because you want to minimize costs.
mm,
So you want to make sure that you're using the resources properly, efficiently. And in that case, it doesn't apply only to big or large enterprises, but also to small enterprises. You can really do sustainability initiatives that can have huge benefits.
mm,
For example, yeah, just managing the resources to make sure that, for example, if you have ways that you can use,
mm,
resources that you can use. And you can also, circular economy can provide linkages also to other industries that
mm,
you can partner with. For example, if this industry is not the type of waste you can use as a resource, you can link with them. Circular economy provides various benefits for everyone. And it's not only when we talk about circular economy, it's not only about waste. Also, we also consider the use of energy,
mm,
um, the efficient way that we use energy, fuel, and all other resources. And there are simple ways that you can practice for the benefit of your company or your establishment.
mm. Yeah. Thank you for that, sir. That's very helpful for me as a micro entrepreneur also, because this is something that again I'll bring out Jamie here in the conversation. This is something that recently we had to talk about, because somehow when you're applying for grants also, they're looking for impact, they're looking for a way for you to measure what you do in such a way that it's understandable for everyone in that system. And part of that was, we're thinking, so for every peso that you invest in this business, how big is that environmental impact? Do we really need to go to that GHG accounting automatically? Is that something that we are looking at expanding to also for everyone actually? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. You should always account your emissions,
mm,
because from there you can track your environmental impact. And as what Sir Paulo mentioned a while ago, the metrics worldwide right now when we talk about climate actions is about greenhouse gas emissions reduction. So you can use that as leverage. For example, if we want to innovate, um, we can use this technology. Maybe we can reduce our emissions. Maybe you can provide us assistance or financial. For example, the Japanese government is providing the joint crediting mechanism. They're providing a funding mechanism if you use technologies that can help reduce GHG emissions. So there are financing mechanisms already that can help industries in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's something that Jamie we will explore this when after we go offline, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, just to share, we have a partnership with city to city collaboration with Osaka City.
Mm-mm.
And we have a policy dialogue, I think last July or June. And one of the agenda there is they want to listen to small businesses, small micro, medium scale businesses. What are their needs in terms of sustainability? What technology do they need? What systems do they need? So they can find partners there in Japan that can help.
Mm.
Just want to share that.
Yeah. Mm. I see. I see.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-mm.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, panel speakers. So from the discussion, so we realize that it's really crucial to have an effective ways to monitor and track progress and impact. Okay, so we know whether or not we're doing something good or something great. Okay. So let's now proceed to our fourth question. Okay. Currently, each industry has its own focus and version of how to apply circular frameworks in its supply chain. What is the nexus between these various industries? For example, food, textile, plastics, and services, and how will they affect each other? So again, so we know that each industry has its own focus and version of this application of circular frameworks in its supply chain. So what is the nexus between these various industries? How will they affect each other? So anybody can give his insights.
I'll defer to Paolo and Sir Vincent first, tapos I'll listen and learn and then share my inputs later. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Um,
Right.
okay, Sir Paolo, go ahead.
Any?
Yeah. Actually, I think when it comes to this, um, I think it's mainly when it comes to their greenhouse, I mean, their emissions, their carbon emissions, when it comes to their logistics, as well as their energy consumption when it comes to their production, which
Mm.
they can use to, uh, measure at the same time. It's something that they can look towards reducing. So it can be different ways. It can be through adoption of renewable energy. It
Mm.
can be streamlining their production line or
Mm.
adopting more sustainable production methods as well.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Thank you, Sir Paulo.
Yeah. Well, for me, the circular model basically opens innovation, operational adjustments, recalibration of existing practices and systems. And I've said a while ago, this open linkages among industries to improve efficiency.
Yeah.
As also mentioned by Sir Paulo, renewable energy. So efficiency in terms of the use of energy and resources, what else? As well as the potential use of various waste materials and collectively, this can result in lesser environmental impact. And just to give an example of a circular model, what we're doing here in Quezon City is we want to lessen food waste.
Mm.
So we've deployed biodigesters
Mm-mm.
in our communities. I think we have 31 right now.
Yeah.
So we collect from business establishments and communities for their biodegradable and food waste,
Mm-mm.
and we process it in our biodigester. So in turn, the biodigester can produce soil conditioner and can also be used. The methane produced can also be used for cooking.
Wow.
So the cooking for the methane, they use it for cooking. For example, they have community programs for feeding. They can use
Mm.
that. And the soil conditioner, they can use in our urban farms because we have thousands of urban farms here. Yeah, that's just one example. For example, for a food processing industry or a restaurant,
Mm-mm.
your biodegradable waste can be used um, by other sectors as well. So
Mm.
that's just one of the example. And another one is, for example, discarded plastics. We have technology right now that can create new products. For example, the chairs and tables. And these are good quality chairs and tables. Because of technological advancement, um, industries can be linked so that they can collectively practice circular economy, and that will have a more a huge impact overall.
Mm. I'd like to echo what Sir Vincent was saying a while ago, because somehow I think the practice that we're doing in the fashion industry is also a demonstration of that. Like, you have input output planning, in a sense that now we are connecting with the bigger manufacturers because we're reclaiming fabrics in Barrio. Or somehow this time, even my partnership or joining the Barrio team is part of that initiative as well, where our strengths in Twin Star back then was about manufacturing. Barrio's strength is about product development and then using the reclaimed fabric. So in that sense, I think the world is now becoming smaller to some extent. And I'm actually excited now hearing from Paolo and hearing from Sir Vincent also a while ago, how all these worlds will intersect one day. And I think the intersection would always be a human need, an environment need, and how we are all one in this together. Wow, that's like a song, no? But that aside, I think I do recall that there's this effort in the fashion industry also. I think Ma'am Liza will be very, very familiar with this in Davao. They had this innovation hub where they were looking at the nexus of food and fashion. So to some extent, we've already explored a bit on this, where um, coffee grind coffee grounds are actually turned into fabric, or pineapple fibers are turned into fabric. So the things that used to be thrown out are now turned into raw material for another industry altogether. So looking forward, that will actually catapult more into to have these kinds of technologies to work within our system and in our cities. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and just to add, we can also generate, of course, one of the objectives also when we talk about climate action is how can we create more decent green jobs.
Mm.
So yeah, circular economy can also help in that aspect.
Yeah. Mm-mm. And to be honest with you, I think it has been a challenge to transition to green jobs also, especially that um people have been used to the way jobs are being done right now, and rethinking it in such a way that we're moving towards circularity, not just in our cities but even in our economies. It takes a while to adjust. Don't you think so? Like, maybe you can comment a bit more about on that, Sir Vincent or Paolo. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, the national government is already. I think they already developed a way
Mm-mm.
to monitor green jobs.
Mm-mm.
In one of the conferences or seminars I've attended, they discussed already the framework
Mm-mm.
uh, regarding green jobs. So we're just awaiting it so that we can totally account. And with that, yeah, we can encourage more and we can improve how we monitor green
Mm-mm.
jobs.
Yeah. I have a eureka question just right now, because we always ask this whenever we are in class. At some point, when you're a micro entrepreneur like me, I would say that I make the decisions for what I would want to do with the business that we have based on the pain points that we see in our clients. So the action or the agency comes from me. But this time around, when we talk about the catalyzing this entire process of shifting to a greener economy, having circular cities and economies, and having green jobs, who do you think should own the process, or how granular should it be in terms of ownership? Should it just be coming from the top and then it's like a carrot and stick, or should it come from the bottom? Maybe you can share some examples with us. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Well, for me, I'm speaking as a government employee.
Mm-mm.
Um, what we want really is for the government, especially the Quezon City government, we want to lead by example.
Mm-mm.
Um, because leading by example, we can show concrete actions,
Mm-mm.
uh, what can be done, and the benefits and positive impacts that everyone can derive from it. And from there, we can create enabling policies already, the policies that need for circular economy to thrive.
Mm.
So this will be coupled with laws and ordinances and guidelines already. And of course, we cannot just imposed on something. And again, I will go back to what I mentioned a while ago about inclusivity. We really want the input of every stakeholder, because every stakeholder, every industry, they have different approaches. They have different agenda. So, what will be the common approach for us? Right. So we want those input, and with that, we can make a comprehensive circular economy plan aside from the plans that we already have. This can complement whatever development plans that we have. So just focusing on circular economy, because you know what you need, and we will, and then the city government and the government can check. Okay, we can provide you this, and then we can meet at a middle ground, just to make the initiatives implementable and beneficial for the both parties.
Yeah. Paolo, I think wanted to say something. I'm not sure.
Paolo, do you want to add your additional insights?
This is with regard to green jobs. No. I think I remember when you were working on the IRR for the green jobs, not even the IRR, just the technical working group for the green jobs. I remember the idea was for different industries to, in a way, develop like environmental focused departments or areas within their businesses. Um, but it took a long pause, I think, before anything else. Actually, I was a bit kind of like, how do you put it? I'm a bit surprised. Oh wow, they restarted it. That took a long time, but I think it's a good time to start it right now. As you can see, like the time is ripe for it to be implemented as companies now are shifting towards sustainability, not just the government, but also in the private sector. And you can see also the banking institutions with BSP coming out with a sustainable finance framework, kind of pushing forward more investments for banks to renewable energy or to environmental projects. I think, I think it's a good time for it to be implemented. And if ever I want to see the IRR, actually, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment as much.
Yeah. But just to give a granular example of what you mentioned, actually, this is something that we hit as I won't say as a roadblock, but I think it's also an answer and a clarity in terms of how we are going for the green jobs, at least in the fashion industry. What we discovered is that a lot of times when you offer something as sustainable, you will really attract people who are eco-conscious, people who have that value already, but they're just a small chunk of individuals. What will really get people, for example, because what will give the green jobs for us, at least in the fashion industry, would be if you would go for our services and also buy our products to some extent. Yes. So that's how we can provide more jobs to our sewers, to our pattern makers, the like something like that. So what we discovered is that you have to first start with functionality, like offer a different value that, hey, this bag is as spacious or it's as big. And then after the fact, they'll know, it's also sustainable, something like that, before we can really get them to convert, to finally get, to finally go for these kinds of options. Sometimes it just becomes like sustainability or circularity is like a sentiment of some sort that, that's good, but maybe it's not something that I would need. Yeah. So maybe I'd like to hear your thoughts also on that. Like, do you think, since you mentioned that we're more ready now, that we're actually driving towards a more sustainable and a greener future, are we beyond sentiments? Yeah. When it comes to the talks about circularity and mm-mm, and sustainability.
I think when it comes to that, I think it depends. It depends heavily also on like in what aspect. Let's say if it's waste, are we? Can you say that we're more environmentally aware or open to adopting the circular economy economy model when it comes to that. Based on like social, consumer behavior dynamics, things of that nature. But you can also see that although we may be more aware of the environmental impacts now, and you see more and more people, be more active when it comes to the plastic or marine plastic issue. There you, in a way, also see a divide when it comes to what is the most, what is the best solution when it comes to changing or alleviating environmental problems or issues. So let's use waste as an issue. So in plastic waste, so you have two camps. So you have like the companies pushing for EPR,
Mm-mm.
saying like, hey, we'll commit, we'll be more environmentally aware, we'll be doing reversion activities, we'll be collecting. And you have like the NGOs, you kind of said like, oh, we're not gonna do circular economy, we just want to ban single-use plastics. We're not gonna support anything that aids recycling of plastics. We'll just go for the phase out of plastics. So you have to balance out which area would be more suitable to you. Or in this case, in our case, you have that issue. That's why you see different efforts. So, but I think it's a good opportunity now. We just have to really align also, I think, as a country on what direction we want to take. I mean, similarly with like you push for renewable energy or you push for electric vehicles at the back end, you kind of forget that hey, they need nickel for the solar, for the batteries. Or hey, they need to put the windmills somewhere. Then it may hit biodiversity dense areas. So those different kinds of things needs to be taken in consideration. But I think right now a lot of people are more socially aware of the environmental effects or the effects of climate change. So um, I think we have a chance. But we need to wake up as early as possible for us to be able to come up with a good definite solution towards change.
I share just something to think about after this. Another output of the UNDPA's project is that they actually um, identified the different drivers. So that enables transition to circular economy. They divided it into three. So number one is system drivers. Under this, we have here economic value, governing context, policy, physical environment, and services. Then the second one is individual organizational drivers. This talks about ability, knowledge, and attitudes. And the last one is social drivers. So these are social norms and social influence. Yeah, there are various factors that we need to take into account. Uh, just putting it out there. So we can also we can find solutions on how we can address this.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Vincent. Thank you, Sir Paulo. Thank you, Alexa. Okay, based on the discussion, so now is the right time. We cannot wait any longer, okay? So the question of Alexa was really thought-provoking. Are we ready to fully embrace sustainability and circularity? Okay, so I think everybody should, just like what Sir Vincent said a while ago, although everybody has his or her motives, we can all agree together to work and then have this comprehensive plan on how we will implement this concept, the circularity concept. Okay. Since it's already 3:11, I think we will now have to open the floor for questions from our audience. Earlier, I saw some questions in the chat box. So let me read the first question from Sir Elmer. Okay. So Sir Elmer wants to ask, the Philippines has 140 plus cities. How many cities do they think will be circular cities by the year 2030? What factors facilitate and hinder adoption of circular cities practices? So again, So the Philippines has 140 plus cities. How many cities do they think will be circular cities by the year 2030? So what factors will facilitate or hinder adoption of circular cities practices?
Yeah. I cannot answer for other cities, but Quezon City definitely will be a circular city by 2030. As for the factors, yeah, we've already we already have the plan, a comprehensive plan. We have we're in the process of providing an enabling environment, the laws, the facilities, the infrastructures needed for this. Um, and yeah, I think that it starts with the plan and really political will to implement the plan and ensuring that resources are allocated for the implementation of the plan. Just to share, um, um, climate and sustainability is one of the um, 14-point agenda of our mayor, and we're very fortunate because she's an environmental advocate, and we allot at least 13% of our budget allocation for climate actions and initiatives, including circular economy. So that's it. Having a plan, engaging the people, the community, the stakeholders, allocating resources, and making sure that the plan is implemented. All actions are there, and there you will achieve your circular economy goals and sustainability goals.
Thank you, Sir Vincent. Sir Paulo,
Uh,
do you have estimates? Are you
I think
optimistic?
I think I mean, as you guys know, the Philippines has the best environmental laws in Asia. Unfortunately, we
That's good
struggle in
to know, Sir
implementing the,
Paulo.
although we do, struggle at times in terms of implementation and enforcement of these environmental laws. So one of the factor is really improving the, you know, implementation and enforcement of environmental laws, as well as ensuring that the knowledge transfer coming from international institutions or coming from government is clearly communicated to the whole, of local government. So you can talk to the provincial, then to the municipality, then to the barangays. So that knowledge transfer and capacity building would enable such, aspirations to become reality. But at the same time, there are also factors when it comes to policy changes and also that local government code, which is something that really poses a significant challenge when it comes to scaling different environmental laws or policies to the local government level. Um, but yeah, like what Vincent mentioned, it's really about the political will of the mayor and continued political will of the mayor and whoever will succeed that person. Because developing a circular city takes time, and it also takes a lot of focused effort and support coming from the national government, from the national institutions in the community. There's going to be both a top-down and a bottom-up approach in order to achieve that.
Yes.
I'll echo that answer actually, but I'm coming from the bottoms up perspective. Agree that there's really much needed support because the scale of the collaborations is really huge. But at the same time, I'd like to dish out the idea of a bridging leader, meaning that even if you're in an informal role, if the values are there, you would pursue it. So I think it's something that's also important for us as entrepreneurs in the private sector, no matter how small your enterprise is, to carry on and continue with the efforts that we are already doing, so that when the system is more ready, everything will. It's just like how the stars are aligning. Then we can just seize that opportunity. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question from Sir Joven. I think this question is directed to Sir Vincent. Okay, so how does QC finance these activities? Also, what led or triggered the city to create a separate department to tackle these issues?
Yeah. Well, how the city allocates budget and resources. I've been mentioning the enhanced local climate change action plan. And we have priority actions, as I've mentioned. So we have 5. And we have milestones. So we make sure that the departments involved for the implementation of every action during budget preparation, we remind them that we need to do this. We need to implement this. So make sure that you include it in your proposal for next year. So that's it. We have the enhanced local climate change action plan has a clear governance framework so that we can monitor the implementation of each action. And what led Quezon City? Well, we were very fortunate that we are a member of the various international networks. So, for example, ICLEI, C40 Cities, CityNet, and with their technical assistance, of course, the transfer of knowledge, um, we really saw the need to accelerate climate actions and sustainability. And during the first term of Honorable Mayor Joy, the creation of the separate department, because previously we are the Environmental Protection and Waste Management Department. So that department also handles solid waste collection. And because of the budgetary requirements for solid waste collection, sometimes the budget is more focused on solid waste. So we determined that we need to put more focus on other aspects of environmental management, biodiversity, food security, water quality, air quality, water sufficiency. So we created another department that will focus on those environmental aspects. And of course, the important mandate there is also advocating for those actions. So the administration saw the need, so it will be more beneficial, it will be more efficient, it will be more effective to have a separate department focusing on climate change and sustainability. That's why we decided to create the department.
Thank you, Sir Vincent. So at this point, I would like to request my group mate, Lisa, to share her experience in Agusan.
Yeah, I just like to add up to that the comment on the previous question by Doc Elmer that how many do we think will be circular cities in the future? I think it is a matter of a while. I do agree that it is a devolved function to the local government, but there there is this work of leadership there. So we have to continue this conversation. We have to keep on advocating so that our leaders in the ground will be able to, to own you own this, no, in the concept also of bridging leadership. It needs political will, and it depends. We question how many. It depends on how many really will have that intention. Good for Quezon City. Congratulations to Mayor Joy, with that intentionality, and they make it as their vision. But so that people like us, or the advocates like us, like the academe and all the other organizations, shall continue doing its work of influencing, doing its work of advocating, because I really have this hope that there's a bright future ahead. We have plenty of young leaders today. We have plenty of young mayors or local chief executives in the ground. So it's just a matter of making them aware, and really, and especially on and influencing them. I'd like to share what happened to the league of in our league of the vice mayors, League of the Philippines. We started out these learning sessions with the University of the Philippines and the Center for Local and Regional Governance, and in partnership with the UP School of Urban and Regional Planning. So the conversation already of the circularity and sustainable cities have been started already amongst the legislators, because we will start from like legislation, the ordinances, just like what Quezon City did. And then probably in the League of Municipalities for our local chief executive. So there is still, there is a bright future ahead that we can have more circular and sustainable cities.
Yeah. And ma'am, just to add, Quezon City is open also to share our experiences and processes. In fact, I think last week, the League of Cities of the Philippines, they had an event, and one of the presentations there is how to develop their enhanced local climate change action plan. In fact, there are cities already visiting Quezon City, and yeah, we are providing them, we are sharing them our experience and suggestions on how they can also implement such action. This is part of the. I've said that we're one of the members of C40. One of the leadership standards of C40 is that we share our experiences. We mentor other cities, so that we can collectively, because it's not just the city, it's the Philippines in general. We want to uplift also the quality of life and the environmental and sustainability awareness of every citizen here in the Philippines. So that's what we are doing right now.
Thank you, Sir Vincent. Sir Vincent, I just have one question. Okay. Are you aware if MMDA has initiatives regarding these areas, sustainability and circularity? Or I think MMDA is the umbrella organization of these
Yeah,
metro cities.
yeah. I know it's one of their agenda.
Ah,
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have other questions that you want our panel speakers to answer? So now is the time for you to ask, because we have very, very competent speakers here, very knowledgeable speakers here. Let me check. So if we don't have any questions, let me just read some of the comments posted in the chat box. So this,
Doc Elmer, I think, has a question. Yes.
ah, Sir
Yeah.
Elmer, please unmute yourself. Sorry, it
Yes,
wasn't.
yes. Right. So another question, in terms of financing circular cities, if there was a 1 million US dollars to support Circular Cities Initiative for NCR, Metro Manila. No? So Metro Manila, 15 million population, more or less. And then there's some counterparting expectation with the other cities, no? Makati, Pasig, Valenzuela. What would be the best use? How would we best leverage that kind of financing? Assuming that this is basically ano, no? A climate financing. How would we leverage 1 million US dollars to optimize the public value with cities, no, in partnership with cities, knowing that cities have all sorts of policy levers and also financing, co-financing capacities? How might we leverage that kind of money? Maybe Sir
Paolo?
Vincent and Sir
Yeah,
Paulo.
Sir Vincent. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the context of I'm not sure what are the future plans of the other cities. So maybe it's difficult for me to answer that, because if I'm going to answer that, of course I'm going to leverage what is beneficial to Quezon City. Because I'm not aware of the current situation of other cities. So I may not be I may not provide the best answer for that. I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, but for me, if we're going in my own opinion, I think if we have that, we have to set up the proper facilities and infrastructure. Because that will stimulate the activities for circular economy. And I think if that's already set up, everything will follow. So that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Sir Vincent.
Paolo, I think, wants to add. I think, yeah.
Actually, just to add to what Vincent said, um, aside from setting up the proper infrastructure, I think we can take a page from how Quezon City has been, developing towards becoming a green city or a circular city, in a sense that constant stakeholder engagement, developing the right policies, really implementing a top-down, bottom-up approach. I think that's the best way to scale it. With regard to the budget, um, I think just proper utilization, transparency, and accounting should suffice. But to tell you frankly, like when I was working on like different large scale advocacies, um, I was taught by my mentor was we don't think about funding. Don't never think about funding. So it came to a point that I really don't think about funding, but rather just think about what to do. But that's more on advocate or kind of change maker kind of mentality. But I think, but when it comes to the whole impact of like budgets to different local government units and scaling it, I think finding the right template of how Quezon City or do, getting a page of best practices in different cities would be the best way to replicate that same change. There might be some changes in parameters, but maybe related to culture, social, or political landscape of that city. But I think the parameters will just be tweaked, not exaggeratedly in a big margin, but I think it can still be, modified to fit any city.
Yeah. And yeah, just to also add to what Paolo mentioned, I think it's also the same idea with the glocal or global and then local. And at the same time, considering that cities are like containers in themselves, containers with complex systems in them. So at least I think when you work in containers, it's more manageable to some extent. So the $1 million might be very generous for one city, but it can be very tight for the entire Philippines if we're gonna do all of this all at once. But it's interesting how in this conversation alone, actually, I learned a lot more, even though even as a panel member, that it's really a lot about strategic partnerships, negotiating interests, and also working together as one as well, and aligning in towards a goal mm, to achieve this circular cities and economies. Mm.
Uh, do we still have other questions?
I think we might not have much time anymore.
Okay.
Perhaps they can send us the questions because our panelists might
Also-
have other, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, thank you panelists for responding, for your detailed responses. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
But
Thank
please
you very
don't go
much.
yet. We need to take a
Yeah,
photo.
don't
and
go yet.
yeah,
So I would like to close today's session. I would like to thank everybody, especially our first and foremost our panelists, Doc Elmer. We have also Prof. Joey here, and all the rest of you who really took your time to be with us this afternoon. So before we end, we would like to invite our professor, Joey Camus, to give the closing remarks. Prof. Joey is the capstone mentor and convener for the Impact First Investing concentration in the Master in Development Management program of the Asian Institute of Management. But after the closing remarks, please don't go yet because we need to take photos. Okay, Prof. Joey.
Thank you, Lisa. So as we come to an end of this insightful forum on planning for circular cities and economies, it's important to take a moment to reflect on the key themes and discussions we've already explored. This forum is a valuable opportunity to validate your thinking process on strategy, business modeling with circularity in mind, focusing on good practices, challenges, and outcome measures that are crucial for advancing the circular economy. Thank you to Dr. Elmer Soriano for introducing the Circular Cities Fellowship Program. As we say, cities are at the heart of the sustainability challenge, And the fellowship program can add to helping work mitigate these challenges. We've heard from distinguished panelists, including Paulo Burro, and Paulo's perspective emphasized the importance of defining clear ownership in the circular process, critical for ensuring accountability and success. Alexa provided us with a compelling overview of how circularity is integrated into the textile and manufacturing industries. And examples highlighted the challenges or the practical challenges and solutions in managing textile waste and leveraging existing talent to create more sustainable production models. Finally, Vicente Benarao discussed how Quezon City works to enhance the quality of life in the city, including climate action programs, monitoring the impact for food waste, biodiversity, soil conditions, and methane. These discussions have not only underscored the significant good practices, but have also brought to light the various challenges that stakeholders encounter in their respective industries. The complexity of planning for circularity is immense, but the shared experiences and insights from our panelists remind us of the importance of collaboration, innovation, and continuous learning. As we map out our key stakeholders and their roles, it becomes evident that a multi-stakeholder approach is essential for success. Circularity in business and urban planning requires us to break down silos, integrate perspectives, and work towards a common. I'd like to extend my deepest appreciation to all the panelists, and particularly for the organizers of this event, Alexa, Valerie, and Lisa, for their invaluable efforts. Your insights have enriched our understanding of the circular economy and its potential to transform communities and industries. Thank you to everyone who participated today. Let's continue to foster discussion and explore new opportunities. I hope this session has provided you with actionable insights and inspired you to think critically of how we can all contribute to a more sustainable and circular future. Let's carry this moment forward as we continue to innovate, collaborate, and lead by example in our respective fields. Thank you again, and I look forward to your continued working together.
Thank you so much. Everybody, please open your
Camera.
Yeah, please open your
Wait, give
camera.
it. Yeah, wait.
Everybody,
Give
please.
it some
Let's have
time. All
we will
right.
take a picture together, photo together.
Okay.
Make sure your cameras are facing you. Yeah.
All right. Smile. Let me paste that first. Okay, can we have it again one more time?
1, 2, 3.
Smile. All right. Thank you so much,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone,
Thanks,
for joining us
everyone.
today. We
Thank
hope
you.
to see you
Congratulations,
again
team.
next
Thank
session.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hello.
I think let's stay the three of us. Hello. Hi, Jan.
Ay, alis na ako, sorry.
Thank you, Janice, for attending.
So,
Ay, wait lang. Naka-livestream pa po tayo.
okay, sige, bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Saglit lang po. I'll just turn off the live stream. So, stop lang muna natin yung recording. Yeah.